From WRAL News and the Capital Broadcasting Podcast Network, this is the Coronavirus North Carolina News Brief for Monday, October 4th. I'm Debra Morgan. With the first full week of booster distribution behind us, we wanted to look ahead to the next phase of the pandemic, including the need for boosters in the long run, as well as the timeline for vaccine approval for children. I had the chance to speak with former Glaxowellcome CEO Bob Ingram about these topics. From the nuances of what qualifies as an underlying medical condition to the bigger picture conversation of how boosters and how likely they'll be playing a part in our lives for years, we know you have questions and clarifications. Back with us tonight is former Glaxowellcome CEO Bob Ingram, who is now with Hatteras Venture Partners. Bob, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Let's start with boosters. How important are they in the fight against COVID?
Debra, they're very important, and I think it's important that we pause for a minute and just reflect on how far we've come in a very relatively short period of time. We all know that this pandemic has been tiring, to say the least, but when you think about it, we now have 2 approved vaccines with 1 approved booster and more to come, and we're also working very effectively on treatments. Antibody treatments, as well as, I think, work that's being done to progress what is today a vaccine that's given by injection, just as we did with the initial polio vaccines, to ultimately be able to be given orally. We all know that many people don't enjoy getting a needle, and that's particularly true for children. So I'm very encouraged by the work that's occurring in our country. We lead the world in biomedical research. And that work is, again, a collaboration between government and NIH, academic centers like Duke and UNC, and the private sector, all collaborating to advance the science that I think will no doubt provide even more efficient and, if you will, patient-friendly ways for us to prevent this pandemic from continuing any longer than it should. And I want to commend you and Gerald and David and your colleagues for your consistent, positive, and accurate coverage of the importance of people getting vaccinated. And now with the boosters, we're starting, as you know, with the higher risk populations, the older populations. I have my vaccine card. I have had my booster, and I can tell you, I had no reaction, and it allows me to act in a more normal capacity, if you will, as I travel.
That sense of normalcy is what we all want. We are seeing some unvaccinated people going in for shots now. The Kaiser Family Foundation poll released today found Delta fears, hospitals filling up, and knowing someone who became seriously ill or dying from COVID were some of the reasons for an uptick in the vaccination rates. Would you also say that people are believing the shots are safe and effective, as experts like you have been saying since early on?
I hope so, Debra, because I think it's really important that we listen to the science. And the science here is very clear. These vaccines are both effective and safe. And the more people that get vaccinated, the sooner we're going to be able to return to that normalcy we all desire. And having a booster available now and more to come will only further that safety margin, particularly for older people and people who have coexisting medical conditions that put them at additional risk.
Let's talk about children. We were looking at 8-year-old Sebastian getting his shot. You know, Pfizer says its reduced dose is safe and effective for 5 to 11-year-olds. And that trial included more than 2,000 children, including Sebastian, you see here, many of them participating in a Duke-run study. How will this help us reach herd immunity, which you were talking about is so important?
Well, it's very important. And I think we all would like to see, our children being able to go to school without masks and enjoying life. And I think today with the Pfizer vaccine at a reduced dose approved, and as I've said earlier, I know that work is ongoing in the antibody area and also in a way to provide these vaccines via an oral administration. And once we get to that point, I think we'll see almost, I hope, universal coverage, particularly for children as well as adults.
Pretty exciting because a lot of that research is happening right here in the Triangle, right, Bob?
It certainly is. We have for example, a local company called Breed Biosciences that is very far down the road with antibody oral therapy as a treatment. And with the work that's ongoing at both Duke and UNC, along with the National Institute of Health and the private sector, I'm very encouraged, Debra.
Well, that is great. Bob Ingram, former CEO of Glaxo, welcome. You have been with us since the beginning of this pandemic. Thank you, as always, for your time and your expert insight in this.
It's a privilege, and thank you all for your excellent coverage.
Everything you need to know about the boosters, eligibility, and where to get them right now on the vaccine FAQ page of WRAL.com. And be sure to subscribe to this podcast, which is updated on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. For the Coronavirus North Carolina News Brief, I'm Debra Morgan.